Hello, welcome back to the channel, and this is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings. We generally like to talk a load of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general, and in this video we're going to be talking about a classic worker placement game. We're going to be talking about Viticulture, and in this game you will be taking actions on a central board that will give you the apparatus and know how to make wine, and then you'll be selling wine that you'll convert into victory points that will allow you to win the game. So in this video we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules. We'll be telling you what we do like, what we don't like, then we'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not viticulture is still worth your time and bother today and in the future. So remember, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment in that section down below. Hit the like button and all that shit. We'll see you after this. Bollocks. So, viticulture. How'd you play this game? So today we're going to be talking about the Viticulture Essentials Edition and also the expansion for this, the Tuscany Essentials Edition. We're going to be chucking them all in together because that really is probably the best way to play the game in our opinion, right? So first thing you're going to do is you're going to chuck the board out in the centre of the table and you will give everybody their starting components. You're going to give everyone a certain amount of normal workers. You're going to give them a grande worker. You're going to give them 6 stars that they're going to be placing on the influence map. You're going to get your cock rule and you will randomly select one of them, and that person will choose where they're going to go first on the wake up track, and everybody else will then choose where they're going to be going on the wake up track after them. We'll talk about the wake up track in a little bit, right? You're going to put your wine bottle onto the center of the residual income wheel, and you'll place your cork onto the start space of the victory point track. You'll also be given a mama and a papa card, and this will give you your starting resources. It might be some extra money, some extra workers, or maybe a starting structure that you could build straight off the bat instead of having to pay for it by taking an action, right? So in the Tuscany expansion, the wake up chart is a little bit different. When you pass at the end of a year, you will then choose where you're going to wake up at the start of the next year, right? You'll choose one of the rows and this will determine player order, and as you pass through each season you will get a benefit dependent on where you wake up. Obviously if you wake up later you're going to get a better bonus, and if you wake up earlier you're going to benefit from being able to take actions first, right? So the first action you can do in spring is you can draw a vine card. If you so desire, you can place it in a space that gives you a bonus which lets you draw another vine card, and vine cards will be used to plant in your field, and you'll be able to grow grapes that will then stick them on your crush pad, and then you'll be able to transfer that into wine and then flog them, right? That's the gist of the game. That's how you get victory points in this game, yeah? So the next one you could do is you can give a tour of your vineyard to some unsuspecting nuggets. You'll get 2 lira for this, and if you take the bonus action, you'll be able to get an extra lira. So the next action you could do is you could build one structure. You can either build a structure that is on your player board. You've got windmills for 5 lira, and these give you an ability of whenever you plant a vine, you get a victory point. You've got cottage, which will cost you 4 lira, and each fall you can draw either one summer visitor or one winter visitor. You've got the yoke, which lets you uproot a vine or harvest one field. You've got a tasting room that whenever you give a vineyard tour, and if you've got at least 1 wine in your cellar, you gain 1 victory point. And then you've got the trellis and the irrigation structures that are prerequisites for planting certain types of vine, right? You can also build structures that are on the orange cards. So you might want to build the aqueduct, and this will cost you 3 lira, and it says ignore the structure requirements to plant vines. Or you might have the wine cave. Sounds good to me, right? This will cost you 2 lira, it gives you an extra action space, and it allows you to draw an order card, and you'll be able to age up to 2 wines, and these give you victory points as well when you play them, right? So next action is you can place or move one of your stars on the influence board. What you'll do, you'll place one of your stars on there and you'll take the benefit that is associated with that space. But if you move a star, you won't be able to take the benefit, right? And at the end of the game, whoever's got the majority of stars in each province will get the victory point bonus. Very, very useful. So as we move into summer, this first space allows you to play a summer visitor, and if you take the bonus you'll be able to play 2. Next space allows you to plant a vine. You'll take a vine card from your hand and you'll place it in one of your fields, but you've got to be careful that you don't exceed the maximum wine value of the vines that you are placing in the field, right? So next action you could take is the trade action. You'll look at the board and there'll be some symbols on there like level 1 wine or some dosh or some victory points, and you'll be able to trade 1 for 1. So you'll be able to trade a victory point for 3 lira, for instance, or 3 lira for a victory point, and so on and so forth. So next thing you can do is you can sell one field. What you do, you'll take an empty field and you'll turn it over and you'll get the amount of lira that's printed on each field. The bonus for this is 1 victory point, or you can take a structure card. Right, so moving into fall, the first action you could do is you could take an order card. You'll draw an order card from the deck and you'll put it in your hand, and the bonus is you can draw another order card. You'll see on the order card that there is a list of wines that will need to be fulfilled that the buyer wants, so you'll have to make sure that you've got this wine in your cellar before you flog it, and these will generally give you victory points and also add to the residual income at the end of the round, right? So next thing you can do is you can harvest one field. What you do, you look at the cumulative numbers of the red and white wines that you've got in your field, and then you'll add that to your crush pad and stick a little bead on your player board on a respective spot. Next action you could do, you can make up to 2 wine tokens. What you do, you'll look at the crush pad that you've got and you'll slide these beads across to your wine cellar on the same number, right? But you've got to be careful that the wine cellar that can accommodate those wines, it's no good having a value 7 wine if you ain't got the cellar to deal with it, right? And you're gonna have to build these using the build structure action. So the next one you could do is a repeat of something that's come before. You can either build a structure or do a wine tour, and then as we move in the winter, you'll be able to play a winter visitor card. You'll be able to train some new workers. You'll pay 4 lira and then you'll plonk a worker on that space and they'll be ready for next time, right? There's also special workers in the game that will give you special benefits. Like you might have the innkeeper, and it says when you place the innkeeper, you may pay 1 lira to an opponent who has a worker on the same action to take a visitor card at random from their hand. So these are sort of game breaking, quite powerful, but you're going to have to spend a bit of money to get these special characters, right? Next action you could do is you can sell 1 wine token. Red or white wine will give you 1 victory point, blush wine will give you 2 victory points, and sparkling wine will give you 4. Basically what you do when you turn grapes into wine, if you add red and white will equal a blush, and 1 white and 2 reds will equal sparkling wine, right? So next action you could do is you can fulfill an order. You'll choose an order card from your hand. You will fulfill it by taking the relevant wine out your cellar, and then you'll get the victory points and the residual income on the card, right? And the final income is like the 2 bob space that you can go to if you are sad as fuck, and you'll just get a bit of dosh, right? So you keep doing this, you'll keep taking actions, you'll keep placing workers out of board and doing stuff, making wine, getting drunk. And the first player to hit 25 victory points, you play till the end of the year, and the player who has the most victory points at the end of that round will be the winner of Viticulture. So what do we like about Viticulture? So the first thing that we like about this game is that there are so many different paths to victory. I've seen this game won without actually making any bloody wine. Who would have thought about that, right? But yeah, there's just so many different types of variables. There's so many different things that can go right and go wrong, right? Wrong? Right. The fact that the game moves through 4 different phases and you can't actually get everything that you want done in 1 year, so you're going to have to wait for the next year to sort that out, means that things change quite radically. It's a dynamic game, right? And the fact that you may not be able to place your worker in the spot that you want to means that you might have to inadvertently change your strategy as the game progresses, and that's always welcome, that there's no sort of Puerto Rico style best path to victory in this one. The next thing that we like about this game is that the visitor cards add some powerful game breaking actions, right? So for example, you might end up with the planter, and this allows you to plant 2 vines and gain 1 lira, or you can uproot and discard 1 vine to get 2 victory points. Or you might end up with a guest of honor, and this allows you to draw 1 order. If you use a grande worker to play this card, you also gain a victory point and 2 lira. The winter visitor cards are sort of radically different. You might hire the guest speaker, and it says all players may pay 1 lira to train 1 worker, gain 1 victory point for every opponent that does this. If everyone does that, that's going to give you like at most 5 victory points, mate. Mental. Or you might end up finding that there's a cellar dweller in your dungeon, and he allows you to age 1 wine up to 3 times, or pay 2 lira to upgrade your cellar. You may lose 1 victory point to do both. Personally, I'd get rid of any gimp that I found in my cellar, because you don't know where they've been, do you? So the next thing that we like about Viticulture is it's bloody thematically sound, isn't it? You know, the artwork has got quite a rustic feel to it, and the way the game flows through each season and each year it really does feel like you're actually crafting something. Like I don't really like the term engine building, but it really does feel like you're creating this well-oiled machine that should, in theory, be able to pump out wine towards the latter stages of the game, right? But it don't always happen like that. And that's what we really like about this game, right? It is a complete package. It feels like there's nothing really missing in this game. I know it took Jamie Stegmaier quite a long time to get to this point because there's been so many different iterations of this game, but the two essential editions of Viticulture and Tuscany really do feel like a complete solid game, right? What don't we like about Viticulture with the Tuscany expansion? So the first thing that we don't like about this game is that the random card draw can make or break the game for you. If you get a couple of random card draws, whether it's a useless summer visitor that allows you to spend money that you don't have, or you draw an order card that has red wine on it and you've been pumping out white wine, then you are going to be particularly screwed for maybe 1 or 2 years. I know you can basically flog the cards that you don't need for victory points at the trade space, but this does mean that the wheels on your well-oiled machine that I was talking about earlier are going to fall off. So that random card draw can be a major problem in this game, and that's sort of one of the really only ways that this game can seem a little bit unfair and leave you behind, so to speak, you know what I mean? So the next thing we don't like about this game is there's too many victory points on offer for doing basically bugger all. You can get victory points for sticking a star on the board. You can just basically trade anything for victory points. Yeah, there's victory points if you go to the fulfill order space, and you can even get a victory point each year if you go sixth, right? So like we said earlier, I've seen people win this game without producing any wine at all. They just keep loading up the victory points. I know you're going to be saying, yeah, well, you could go to that space and block them, but if you do that, then you ain't going to be creating any wine either, right? So yeah, it's a little bit weird that there's an abundance of victory points available for basically doing fuck all. So the final thing that we don't like about Viticulture is that on occasion this game can feel like you are wading through water. The game can slow down, especially if you're playing with a high player count, right? There are occasions where you always seem to be one step away from pulling off that killer move, and then you're gonna have to wait for the next year to try and do that. And it does feel like the game puts these barriers in front of you and you're never quite able to pull off these game changing combos that you've started to formulate in your head. So it is like wading through a quagmire on some occasions. Sometimes the game does flow quite well, but more often than not, it can be just a little bit frustrating if you can't execute the plans that are up here on there. To summarise, is Viticulture still worth your time and bother today and in the future? So we are going to say yes, this is a seminal worker placement game that has the absolutely perfect blend of theme and mechanics. The random card draw can kill the game for you if you draw badly on a couple of occasions, right? If you don't draw the order card that you're looking for, it can sort of destroy that year for you. And sometimes it really does feel like you're not getting anything done. You know, you're just constantly waiting for the next year to come around so you can execute that plan you've got in your head. But as the game changes, as it's a dynamic game, that may never come about. But having said that, this is an absolutely must-have worker placement game that, like wine, gets better with age. Right, so you go, that's Viticulture. Remember, if you are new here, please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment in that section down below. Hit the like button and all that shit. We'll see you next time.